Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Caregiver Crosswalk, Dementia Care Consulting. Never roam alone.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Vecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing in the senior living industry.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of the show, what it's really like to be living in a CHSLD or seniors residence. We're going to hear all about the pros and cons of the senior living industry, and we're going to provide some families with guidance when it comes time to transition a loved one into a seniors residence. Now, Corey, I have to ask you, after Wednesday this week, were you like me and most of us with a little bit of a load off your shoulders with the presidential inauguration? I wonder how you felt.
Well, good question. For me, I actually teared up watching it. I got all the word I use is verklempt, all emotional. It was quite something, particularly this young woman who did that poem.
Yeah, Amanda Gorman.
Yes,
something
wow,
else. Yeah.
That was really something.
Yeah. So, let's hopefully that's just one step on our kind of road to recovery. And I'm looking outside the studio here, and there's sun, Corey.
That's right.
So days are getting a little longer. So, what do we have coming up on the second half?
Well, it's Bell Let's Talk coming up January 28th. So in honor of that, we are actually going to be learning how to use stress to strengthen mental health and resilience. Dr. Joboa, who's from Pittsburgh, she's going to be on the line. She's going to teach us how to make stress work for us. That's coming up after the 4:30 news.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear from that. And I should say, if it's sounding like Corey is not in studio, because she is not in studio. Bell Media are like many top organizations, are being really I don't want to say strict, but it's important and careful. And therefore, this is our first crack at a dual co-hosting, you from home in a studio and me from the office, from the CJD studio. So we'll see how we make out here, Corey.
Yeah, so bear with us. Anyways, that said, I am very excited to introduce our first guest. There's been a lot of talk about the state of the CHSLDs and senior residences. As a result, it's put tremendous stress on people considering a transition into a residence. Adult children are equally concerned about their parents and their well-being. There's a lot of questions about the state of senior living accommodations. So who better to talk about it than our very own Matt Del Vecchio? Matt is the owner of Lianas Senior Transition Support, and he specializes in senior living industry. He's walked the hallways of more than 100 seniors residences in the greater Montreal area and another 50 in Ontario and BC. Matt, you know the residences and you know what the families go through when they're considering to move a loved one. I'm hoping that you are here to be able to dispel some of those myths. So welcome to the hot seat, Matt Del Vecchio.
Hot seat indeed. We're ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's be very clear. Let's start off simple. What's the difference between a CHSLD and a seniors residence?
Yeah, sometimes it gets confusing with the terminology. So CHSLD actually stands for Centre d'Hébergement de Soins de Longue Durée. So that SLD part at the end. So that means long-term care. That's what some of us know as a nursing home. And essentially a CHSLD is for those that are unable to live on. Typically requires more than 3 hours of ADLs. ADLs means your activities of daily living. So, for example, if you're not able to get dressed on your own, you need some assistance with bathing, transferring in and out of bed, some meal preps, and maybe even feeding. Incontinence is another issue. So that would be a CHSLD, whereas a seniors residence is sometimes known in Quebec as an RPA. That means Résidence Privée pour Aînés. So there are a ton of these RPAs, and I like to refer to it as kind of condo living with all the amenities such as dining rooms and nursing stations and activities. Some are bigger and actually quite luxurious, where you pretty well have everything under one roof, from dépanneurs, pharmacies, movie theaters. It goes on. And there's also some smaller RPAs, as small as 8 to 15 people, and a whole bunch of in between those two extremes.
Okay, so thank you. It makes it a lot clearer. I wondered how many Quebecers actually live in these types of residences.
Well, just to give a couple stats here, in CHSLDs, there's about 450 CHSLDs in Quebec, and there's just over 40,000 beds across the province. As far as RPAs go, there are a lot more seniors residences. There's about 1,800 senior communities, and there's approximately 140,000 people living in RPAs today in Quebec.
Big numbers. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Sirota, and we're talking to my co-host Matt Del Vecchio about dispelling the myths concerning seniors residences. So, living in a CHSLD, they get a bad rap. Is it as bad as we hear about it in the news?
Well, it certainly has been, and we've seen some terrible situations. But I think what we need to understand at the outset is that if you are in a CHSLD, you probably didn't ask to be there. You weren't proactively looking to move into a CHSLD. You are there for a reason. It's the highest level of care that we're offering in a residence. And so as a result, the environment in CHSLD to be a little more institutional. And also, over 50% of people living in these nursing homes, they have some form of cognitive decline, including dementia-related diseases like Alzheimer's, for example. Could be mild, but there are cognitive issues in them. So all this to say, the environment tends to be quite heavy. And the big debate is concerning the quality of care. And if you ask me, Corey, I would categorize it as adequate being the word, with plenty of room to improve. You're going to you'll be taken care of. The care is there, but God bless the staff that are working. They're doing the best that they can, but their resources these days are stretched. They were stretched as it was prior to the pandemic, but now it really has been something else. But if there has been a silver lining, Corey, as you mentioned, it's been a lot on the news. It's put a real spotlight on the sector. It's no longer sort of, nursing homes, that's where we go, at the end of life. And
Right.
and people aren't going to accept that anymore. So, it's important because it's being recognized, and people aren't going to stay for this any longer. I'll give you a little example where it has improved a little bit. Something called IPAC, which is infection control and infection prevention and control protocols. IPAC and prevention has improved drastically in less than a year. I mean, it's no wonder why flu is almost non-existent in some of these seniors' residences and in the general public. And it's due a lot to the PPEs. But in general, I don't want to sugarcoat it, Corey. There's
Right.
we need much better staff to resident ratios. We need better stimulation for people living in these long-term care homes. Quite frankly, we need more beds and beds that are appropriate. For example, we tend to mix those with cognitive needs and those with physical needs all together. Well, future beds, we should be able to separate those that have physical needs versus cognitive needs. And even a biggie is couples living together. Unfortunately, couples, very, very rare that
Very
they
tough.
can go into a CHSLD together.
Very quickly, how does someone get into a public CHSLD?
In a public CHSLD, you must go through your local CLSC, and you put in a request for an evaluation and an assessment, and that's easier said than done. You really have to advocate. It could take a few months to get that done. And what you want to do after the evaluation, if it's accepted that a loved one, mom, dad, grandparent, can go into the CHSLD, they'll ask you which one in the public sector. They'll give you a list, and you get on a waiting list. And that waiting list can range from a few months up to a couple of years, averaging about a year to get a permanent bed in a CHSLD. And in the interim, what happens during that year, you end up in what they call a transition bed until your permanent bed is ready.
That's Matt Del Vecchio, our very own Matt Del Vecchio, talking about all we need to know about senior living. We have to go out to traffic, but Matt, when we come back, we are going to get that list from you. It's such an important list about what we should be asking when we're looking to place in a senior living residence.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.
Welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Sirota, and we are talking with our very own Matt Del Vecchio about dispelling myths concerning seniors residences. Matt is the director and owner of Lianas Seniors Transition Services. Matt, it's not an easy time to make that or recognize that we have to perhaps move someone, our loved one, into a senior's residence. What are the questions we should be asking in order to identify? I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, and that's quite common. It is a little bit overwhelming. This is something we do every day, and the reality for most people, it's just the first time they're going through it, or maybe the second time. So typically what we have over at Lianas, we actually have a 70-point checklist. So I'm not going to go over all 70 points here, Corey. We may need a couple of hours. But if you were to say, Matt, narrow it down, I would focus on a couple key areas. One of them has to be, do they offer the appropriate care today and in the future? And this is crucial. You might get swayed by, oh, this is a beautiful residence. But beyond that, we have to ask, are they providing the right care that you're going to need, not just today, but what type of care are you going to need 6 months, 2 years, 3 years down the road? So proper care is important. Next one I would say is culture and atmosphere. Is it a right fit? Do you see yourself living in this residence? And that could be everything from language and religion and the activities and amenities. Do you need the dépanneur and the pharmacy and the hair salon and the theater? Some do, some don't. A big one, Corey, is food. So
it always is, right?
A lot of time people are cooking their own food in their own kitchens in a senior's residence, but a lot of times the dining rooms are very, very popular. We always suggest when we go on tours, almost all residences offer complimentary lunch, and we encourage that for two reasons. One, you get to see what a menu's about, you get to taste the food, but more importantly, you get to see the atmosphere when you're in their dining room, to see who eats there and if you see yourself there again. And two other big things, safety and security is important. Ask about their evacuation procedures and sprinkler systems and visitation policies. And obviously an important one is budget. Will it meet your budget that you're willing to prepare to live in this type of senior's residence?
Okay, fair. Lots of stuff there. I hope people were taking notes. So then you mentioned budget. What does it cost to live in a senior's residence?
Good question. And I'm going to try to give as black and white answers as I can. Let's go back to CHSLDs. A public CHSLD, wherever you are living in the province of Quebec, it's $1,947 per month to live in a public CHSLD. We are fortunate in Quebec, and it's not like this in other provinces. You have a private option for CHSLDs, and they are typically going to run somewhere between the range of $4,000 to $6,000 per month in a private CHSLD. Most people, though, are living in seniors' residences, what we call RPAs, and there's a big variation in cost. Why? Three main reasons. The size of the apartment or the unit that you're going to be in, whether you require meals or not, and the amount of care that you're going to require. But in general, we've put, there's some people that have moved into a residence for as little as $1,100 a month, including a meal a day for some subsidized residences. Typically, though, a one-bedroom apartment in a senior's residence will range to around $1,500 to $2,000 per month. You add in a couple of meals a day, you're going to get up to around $2,000 to $2,500 a month. And then you've got some real high-end residences where you've got lots of care, or you might want a two-bedroom apartment. They could range anywhere from $5,000, and Corey, I've seen all the way up to $10,000 per month. However, one really neat thing here we have in Quebec is a government subsidy, not offered in many provinces. And if you are over 70 years old, that's all it takes, you will get a tax credit, a monthly subsidy from the province of Quebec, which works out to about 10 to 15% of your monthly rent. And that's just a straight deposit of cash into your bank account. So we're quite fortunate from that perspective, the government. Very
good to know. That's Matt Lianas from Lianas Transition Services, and he's given us the down low on seniors' residences. I actually wanted to know, why are senior residences they're known as RPAs, and why are they becoming so popular?
Yeah, the senior living industry really it's booming, which kind of makes sense, right? The demographics show that it's aging. The baby boomers are getting older, and I would say the top three reasons why they're getting popular. First and foremost, social reasons. We've talked so much, Corey, even on our own show about loneliness and isolation. Social reasons
Right.
is a very popular reason why people are moving into residences. Health reasons, of course. You might be a little nervous at home on your own. What if you fall? It's nice to have if there's a doctor or a nurse or PABs, orderlies around. And another reason is people are just getting fed up of their homes. They've done well for their homes. They're cashing in. They're fed up of the maintenance, and now it might be time to transition to a residence.
Okay. Matt, the services that you offer, for those of you who don't know, are absolutely free. I think that's amazing for families. Explain to us how it works.
Sure. Our revenue, it comes from all the residences in Quebec in the form of a referral fee. So it's kind of like how travel agents work or even the real estate industry. Therefore, it's a nice dynamic where we'd like to say, just look at us as an extension of your family. We're not like the lawyers and the clock is ticking and you're going to get our hourly bill. It's free of charge. And what we do is we have Lianas senior advisors on the road. They'll do a full needs assessment of you or your loved one. We search the marketplace, over 1,000 residences just in Greater Montreal, believe it or not. Our job is to narrow that down and present you with the top recommendations. We organize and accompany family members on the tours of the residences, and at the end of it, you're much more informed and educated in making a big decision for you or your loved one.
Matt, you're also a really nice guy. That's the truth. If you can't hear it, I'm vouching for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this plethora of information. How do people get a hold of you?
I guess the best way, if you have access to a website, lianasservices.com would be the best way. Lianas is Lianas Services. Lianas, by the way, just an acronym of our 3 children, Lisa, Anthony, and Excel. And call, I'll say it slow, 514-622-8074.
Thank you so much for everything you've said and all that you do. What's coming up on the second half?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we do have an American doctor coming up on the second half. How can we do stress better, Corey? We're going to learn how to use stress to strengthen mental health and resilience. And that's going to be coming up after the 4:30 news.